Now, I now refer to this really excellent article done by a professor at the University of Pennsylvania, Professor Chura. And he talked about the online privacy lie unraveling. And it's a really good read if you have any interest in taking a look at it. He said a large majority of web users are not at all happy and feel powerless to stop their data being harvested and used by marketers. And he found, again, in the 90 percentile, 91% disagree that if companies give me a discount, it's a fair exchange for them to collect information about me without my knowing. I'm sure you've all heard that. Come on, we're giving you a free service, so in exchange for that, we can do whatever we want with your information. It's not a big deal, right? It's not a big price to pay. He is finding out, look at the significant size of the majority, 91% are saying, no, we don't agree with that anymore. Maybe that was true at some point in time, I don't know, I don't have data on that. It's no longer the case. He talks about the trade-off fallacy, which I found intriguing in terms of marketers misrepresenting American consumers. 71% disagree that it's fair for an online or physical store to monitor what I'm doing when I'm there in exchange for letting me use the store's wireless network with Wi-Fi. So you're getting a lot of pushback for these things. And 55% disagree that if a store, it's okay if a store where a shop uses information has about me to create a picture of me that improves the services they provide to me. They want to be asked. They want people to ask them, can we use your information and we'll give you some benefit? And some people may say yes. It's not that I object at all to people being asked. There are times when I would say yes, I want to get an additional service or some additional information. I'm looking and doing a search in a particular area, and I would love any help that I can get in terms of refining that search. It's not that the answer will be no. It's that people want to be involved, people want to be engaged, and that is what is critical. You can't forget that part of the equation. And Commissioner Daniel Tenian did a survey in 2014, right at the end of 2014. There you have it, once again, 90%. The 90% of Canadians expressed concern about the protection of their privacy. And that's what I want you to focus on, ladies and gentlemen. It is unlikely this is going to change because increasingly you're going to hear more and more stories about governments, especially in the United States. Obviously I do a lot of reading online, and this morning it was all about the FBI basically using people's information in a variety of purposes in ways that they never intended, and the public railing against that. So the whole discussion between the FBI and Apple, which I'm going to talk to at the end, but I'm afraid I may not get to it. That's the only problem. I'll just refer to it very, very briefly. End-to-end encryption is offered by Apple when you use an iPhone. And as an iPhone user, I value that enormously. The FBI said, well, Apple, we need you to, we got this on this phone, we want you to break it for us. We want you to write some code which basically creates a backdoor, enables the FBI to have an additional source of access to the encrypted data, which literally does not exist now. That means it doesn't exist. So they didn't say come and break the hardware, which is doable, which is what they ultimately got done. But they said write us a code so we can gain entry whenever we want, essentially. Apple, understandably, said no. Are you kidding me? Why would we do that? Apart from why would we do that, they railed against this for privacy reasons, for a number of reasons in terms of the relationship they have with their customers. And the FBI pitched this as just, oh, there's Apple, just they're trying to get a marketing advantage out of this. And I went nuts at that. The Globe and Mail asked me to write an op-ed, which I have a slide of later on. And I railed against the position the FBI was putting on Apple. And to my delight, about a week later, there was a similar case that had been percolating in New York State. And Judge Orenstein, read his decision, I've got this line on it somewhere. He found in favor of Apple. And he said, this is ridiculous. You're asking a private sector company, first of all, to develop something that it doesn't have. So we're asking them, this is a business entity, to develop some new code, which will also work against the interests of the company and against customers. no authority to do that. I mean, I'm not doing this well. It was eloquent the way he phrased it. Beautiful. Shortly after that, the FBI withdrew their case against Apple. They said, well, we found somebody else who could do it. And they knew there was somebody else always that could do it. It was not new. They thought this was going to percolate, and they were trying to get public support on their side. They didn't get it. They did maybe right at the beginning, and then it just dwindled away. And that's the thing, that people have a right to privacy. If you don't offer it to them, with end-to-end encryption, which is growing now dramatically by leaps and bounds, people will go elsewhere. About a third of the companies that produce encryption and encrypted products are in the United States. 2/3 of them are outside the US. So what do you think is going to happen? People are just going to migrate elsewhere and get services where they can be provided with those assurances that members of the public want dramatically. So ever since this case, WhatsApp and all these other services have moved to end-to-end encryption, and you will see more and more of that. Because the Snowden effect, people don't want governments in their business. You're allowed to have privacy. And the thing is, there are means by which to open these devices, as the FBI has found, that this is eminently doable. But forgive me, I digress. Now, it's interesting. Forrester Research, I thought this was interesting. People choose to give their business to firms with good data hygiene. New evidence suggests that consumers are seeking out companies that will protect their privacy. And this, again, just speaks to the whole area of individuals migrating to companies who will offer them strong privacy and data hygiene. It's so important. It's not going to be sufficient to simply say, well, that's too bad. 62% of respondents said that they would not at all be likely to repeat a purchase from a company that had shared their personal information with a data broker. And so you see this increasingly, that companies should respond by what they say, stress testing their data operations and turn their privacy policies into a marketing opportunity. I always try to put this in a positive when I talk about privacy. When I talk to companies, and especially governments, I say, don't think of privacy as a negative. You've got to think of it as something you're offering to your customers, you're offering to citizens, because they have a right to it. It's absolutely essential in free democratic societies. So think of it, reframe it as a positive, not a negative. And don't think you're not going to be affected if you disregard this. In terms of business operations, Bill recently realized that it wasn't a good idea to do this new advertising program they wanted to do, where they could track customers' clicks, calls, and TV binges automatically. And basically, they didn't get the consent of their customers. They just said, well, you can opt out of it if you want. You've got to figure out how to do that on it. And there was a huge, huge backlash to this. Commissioner Tallien got hundreds and hundreds of complaints about this. And he approached Bell, and he said, I think you have to change this. I think you have to have a positive consent, not negative consent, opting out, because it violates people's privacy. This is not their expectation in terms of what you're going to be doing with their data. And they said, well, no, we don't really agree. Unfortunately, the Privacy Commissioner federally doesn't have order-making power yet, like the provincial commissioners have, which, believe me, I rarely use the order-making power, but I had it, and people knew I had it, so it's a whole carrot-stick thing. If the stick is there, you don't have to use it, but if you don't have it, then it's a problem. So, Commissioner Tallien tried to get Bell to do the right thing, and they didn't do it. I remember that happened one afternoon. The decision came out, Bell wasn't going to follow his recommendation. I had an interview that morning, the next morning, at some radio station. And also in the morning, there was rumblings of Bell maybe changing their mind, but they weren't sure. So I called the commissioner's office, and I said, I'm just about to do an interview. Is it true that they're changing their position and they're taking Commission to Man's recommendation? And she said, we haven't been given any certainty associated with that. I said, okay, leave it with me. So I just did a scathing attack on them. Because it was ridiculous. It was obvious. And by the end of that day, they changed their position completely. And now they're facing this huge class action lawsuit. I mean, what are people thinking? They just think they can get away with this stuff? No, maybe pre-Snowden you could get away with it, but you couldn't get away with it afterwards. And just two more things to point out in terms of how the world is changing. There was a very significant decision in the EU called the Vidal case. Huge, huge success for privacy. And essentially, here's the next slide, tells you exactly what it was. It's a huge decision, but the simplest part of it is, sorry, did that. And here we go. People often say, companies say, well, your IP address, that's not personal information, right? It's just like an IP address. It's just a... In this case, the Vidal case, it made a resounding decision that if personal information could be linked through a process of data linkage to your your IP address, that made it personal information. They said, importantly, the court held that information that allows a company to identify an individual based on matching or aggregating with other information in its possession of personal information, meaning a data linkage, then regardless of whether the company in fact matches or aggregates, in doing so, it discarded an argument often made by online providers that persistent identifiers single out a device as opposed to an individual user. They were saying it is personal information. Your IP address essentially is personal information, which brings you under privacy laws. And this is a huge decision. Now, we have often taken this view here in Ontario and Canada that the data involved doesn't have to be a direct identifier, your name, your OPIC number, your social insurance number, etc. If through a process of data linking,